Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
The Cowboys are suddenly the team no one wants to see in the NFC playoffs, but they have to beat another desperate team on Thursday just to stay in the race. Also, it feels like the Ravens are playing for their season against the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday. The man who helped get Bears GM Ryan Poles his first job in the NFL happened to be a former Packers coach.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
On Thursday night, two teams will square off who could not have had more disparate experiences last Thursday on Thanksgiving. The Detroit Lions coming off a difficult loss to the Green Bay Packers, not difficult for me personally, and the Cowboys getting the biggest win of their season after getting the biggest win of their season. Right now, Landon McCool from Locked On Cowboys joins me. And Landon, this is starting to feel, I asked you, I think it was a week or so ago, is this going to be the team in the NFC playoffs that no one wants to face? It is starting to feel like this is the team in the NFC playoff race no one wants to play.
Yeah, they still got to get that third biggest win of the season to have a chance, yeah. I think. But you're right. Like, I mean, the Kansas City game kind of just confirmed what we saw a little bit in the Eagles game, that the Cowboys defense has sort of turned itself around from being historically bad to maybe average, and maybe average with this offense, with those two wide receivers, and with Dak Prescott playing the way that he's playing right now is enough. And I think they're going to be a team that, if they could, like I said, they can find a way to go up into Detroit, win this game, exact a little bit of revenge considering what Detroit did to Dallas, last year, and put Detroit potentially out of the playoffs, while, I think getting themselves right to just short a 50% chance to make the playoffs themselves. It would be quite a run of games. And again, in a situation that you probably thought you would win one of these three games, to have won three of these games would be an amazing feat.
Well, and to feel like now you have a really good chance to win the third of those three. I mean, that's the situation that they find themselves in, because the Lions defense got carved up by Jordan Love on Thanksgiving. Dak Prescott, you mentioned, playing at really, I mean, an MVP level. If you're going to put together 5 MVP candidates, if you put together a list without Dak Prescott, you didn't really put together a list, because that's how good he's playing. Let's not forget Brian Schottenheimer in all of this, who was a punchline in the offseason that the Cowboys hired that guy. What has he done offensively that has helped unlock the best version maybe we've ever seen of Dak Prescott, and the best version we've ever seen of George Pickens by far?
Yeah, I mean, I think he understands what Dak needed, maybe even a little bit more than Dak himself, right? Mm-hmm. I think he put Dak back under center and put play action back in the mix. And I think, obviously the motion, Clayton Adams addition, and what he's done to the run game, those are things that are very easy to point to and said those have been successes as well. But I think it's understanding that Dak needed the George Pickens type player, the X who could get downfield, who could win those 50-50 balls, that could create the space you need for the other guys underneath. He needed another answer outside of CeeDee Lamb, and he needed to have a physical run game to kind of balance it all out. And with those additions, Dak has rewarded the Cowboys with very, very good play, probably the best play of his entire career.
You mentioned that defense that is turning things around. They are now passable. And they're more than passable at times, right? Like they can get a high leverage stop when early in the season they could not get a high leverage stop. That's not just Quinnen Williams. It's some of the other guys playing a little bit better too against this Lions offense. They are a wounded animal right now, in addition to actually just being wounded. A lot of injuries that they're dealing with right now. What do you think the plan will be against Jared Goff and an offense that we saw really have a tough time getting the ball going on the ground against the Pack?
Yeah, that's going to be the key. Like, I think that ultimately, I think both teams are going to be able to produce big plays, but I think that the Cowboys should be able to do it just in the normal rhythm of their offense, where because of the nature, I mean, they're missing St. Brown. Laporta's obviously been gone. They're missing their second tight end. They're 4/5, if I remember correctly, of their offensive line was on, maybe 5/5 of their starting offensive line were all on the injury list. So some of them will play, some of them won't, but all of them feel compromised. It just feels like a very beat up Lions offense. offense that is going to face a tough interior trio of Dallas defensive tackles that have played very well together. And I think that, you add in the fact that it's, everyone's been dealing with this kind of off schedule and they're dealing with backups. They're probably going to be trying, it's going to be a kitchen sink game because both teams have to win this game to get in the playoffs. So, they're going to be trying crazy trick plays because I just don't know that Detroit, as they are currently constructed, is going to be able to create enough big plays safely to keep up with Dallas's offense on the other side. So I think they're going to get risky because they're going to have to. And I think they're going to have backups in the game, which is going to make those risks even more risky. So there's going to be opportunity for this Cowboys defense to create turnovers, not just get stops, which, I mean, heck, a punt is all I would ask for, 4 weeks ago. We're talking about potentially getting more turnovers now. I think that's where the game could turn eventually if Dallas really wants to take this one home.
Luckily for us, nothing weird has ever happened when the Cowboys and Lions have gotten together in a big game. Not ever. It's never happened.
And listen, with all these the tight ends out, don't think that they aren't going to put 6 and 7, maybe even 8 offensive line out on the field at one time. Let's make sure that they're all checking in with the referees, because otherwise Dan will get really mad at the Cowboys because he didn't properly get things done on the field.
Stay up to date all year on the Dallas Cowboys by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Cowboys on your favorite podcast app. You're Locked On Sports Today. Coming up, the Ravens are headed into a must-win game against the Steelers. Before we get to that, Giannis is getting frustrated with the Bucks, and now he's hurt. NFL Sundays move fast. One big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds. Every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, FanDuel.com is the place to go place your live NFL bets all season. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you. Bucs star Giannis Antetokounmpo is reportedly mulling over his future in Milwaukee. Meanwhile, the team won without him because he went down with what they're calling a calf strain. Certainly a situation to monitor here moving forward.
They've run into, speaking of Giannis, I don't want to spend too much time because I frankly don't have any take on it. And I think it's much ado. I mean, I hesitate to say it's much ado over nothing. I don't think this is anything that came about in the last 24 hours. The whole Giannis deleted all mentions of the Bucs on social media. Differing reports on how long ago that actually happened. It's not Giannis personally doing this. I can assure you that he has a team. But I just don't care. And I don't think it means what anyone thinks it means. I don't think anyone knows what is truly going on in the mind of Giannis other than those that he won.
Elsewhere in the NBA, the Spurs keep finding ways to win without Victor Wembanyama.
Of course, you're here with Locked On Spurs. You're going to instant react to the Spurs' big win in Orlando to start off the road trip. Spurs beat the Magic 114-112. It was pretty much a game the Spurs had in control for most of the game. Now, Orlando didn't make a comeback here and there, cut the Spurs double-figure lead down to single digits. But if anything that stood out to me was the resiliency of this team. They weathered the storm. Bain starts hitting the three at the end to get the game even closer. The Magic are storming back with just under 2 minutes left. But the Spurs didn't wilter. They didn't fault. They just kept on going through and got the win. De'Aaron Fox, what can you say? 31 points to lead the Spurs in the win. But the hero of the game, Luke Cornett, with the game-saving block. And what a way to start the long road trip with the W. I think it sends the right tone, right message. I mean, you tip your cap to everybody from Keldon Johnson, who came off that bench to provide double-digit scoring and energy. Sohan's defense. The list goes on and on. Devin Vassell knocking down 15 points. All in all, this is a great team collective win. And again, let's remind everybody, they're doing it without Victor and Steph Castle. They're getting wins. Without two of their biggest weapons on the roster right now due to injury. So nevertheless, you like the win. And at the end of the game, you like how it was just key plays going the Spurs' way. Whether it was the block that Cornett did to save the game, or even De'Aaron Fox rising up, drawing that foul from Jonathan Isaacs to hit the free throws to ice the game for San Antonio. Key play after key play the Spurs made to seal the win. And you would think that coming off back-to-back, they played last night and then they played again tonight, they'll be losing a little steam. Maybe they lose a little gas in that fourth period. They did not. You credit everybody from Dylan Harper and his heady play throughout the game. Carter Bryant chipping in some defense and offense. It was a great group win. Yeah, record again, 15-6 to start the season. And they got the Cavaliers coming up next on Friday. All in all, tip the cap to the Spurs. They did it once again. This is Locked On Spurs. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your favorite podcast.
The high-octane Heat were a little sluggish against the Mavs.
The Dallas Mavericks might be good again. I can't keep track this season. They started off the season absolutely horrible, and now the Dallas Mavericks still have the 30th offense in the NBA. And in this game against the Miami Heat, the Heat are the 4th best defense in the NBA, and the Mavs have a really good offensive game. Now, they did hit 16 threes. It's just the 7th time they've hit 16 threes this season. They're 4-3 when they do that, and so that was a big thing for sure. Multiple guys hit multiple threes, and so that was massive. Klay Thompson had 5 of his own. Anthony Davis was back, 17 and 17 points and rebounds in this game. That was absolutely huge for the Dallas Mavericks. First time a guy's at 17 and 17 this season for the Mavericks. He was absolutely massive, and Anthony Davis was fighting hard through that hand injury. He was holding his groin a little bit, just fighting through everything, Anthony Davis. Ryan Nembhard, an absolute revelation. He has started the last couple of games for the Mavericks, and he has continued to be absolutely awesome. 15 points, 13 assists. He is the first Dallas Maverick to have 13 assists since... Oh, wait. Yeah, it's Luka Doncic. A million times Luka Doncic. And then before that, the last Maverick to have 13 assists was Dennis Smith Jr. And the one before that was J.J. Barea. Ryan Nembhard doing things we haven't seen in a long time for a Dallas Maverick. And then Cooper Flagg, what else can be said? 22 points in this game. He started off with 3 fouls pretty early in the game. Jason Kidd left him in the second quarter, and that was pretty big. He trusted him, and he never picked up another one. But 22 points, including 2 more clutch buckets that the Mavericks needed to keep the lead and keep the Heat at bay. An absolutely awesome game for the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe their best this whole season.
And the Cavs have now lost 4 out of their last 5 after losing at home to the Blazers.
Danny Cunningham here at Rocket Arena after the Cavs fall to the Portland Trailblazers 122-110. Let's talk about this one for 94 feet. If the game against Indiana on Monday night was a step in the right direction for the Cavs, this game was 2 steps in the wrong direction for the Cavs. This team really struggled defensively against Portland in this game, particularly on the perimeter. I thought Evan Mobley was fine near the basket. He had 5 blocks. I thought he did a lot of really good stuff defensively, but the Cavs could not defend Portland on the perimeter. The Blazers were able to get downhill. They were able to draw fouls. They won this game because they got to the free throw line constantly, and when they did get into the paint, they were able to create some easy looks because they got by whatever defenders were on the perimeter. Denny Avdia for Portland, he had 27 points. He only needed 10 official field goal attempts to do it because he took 17 free throw attempts in this game, where all of them, I thought, the greatest of foul calls. No, but the Cavs put themselves in position to foul because they couldn't stay in front of anybody on the perimeter. That to me was the biggest issue. Yeah, did I love the shots that they were getting? Not necessarily. I do think that they had a lot of open threes that they missed, which sometimes that's just the way the basketball game goes. But ultimately, right now, these issues are still the issues that have been. Their energy, their effort. They're on the defensive end of the floor. They're rebounding. Like, it's the same story over and over for this team. So they took a step forward, in my opinion, on Monday, but they took 2 steps back on Wednesday. They've got 2 more games before a much needed, in my opinion, NBA Cup break next week. They play Friday against the Spurs, Saturday against the Warriors, and I'll talk to you after both of those games.
The Baltimore Ravens may not technically be playing for their season on Sunday, but it sure as hell feels like it after a dispiriting loss on Thanksgiving against Joe Burrow in his return to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now it's another divisional foe. The Pittsburgh Steelers await for Baltimore. Kevin Ostreicher from Locked On Ravens joins me now. And Kevin, we've talked about the disjointed nature of this season, of this team at times. Just let's put the why is this not gone the way we planned aside for the moment. What do they have to do to beat Pittsburgh on Sunday?
Well, there are a couple of things. I think, for one, you have to establish your run game. I think that's a really big key in this game, especially because Pittsburgh has struggled at times in the worst way in their eyes to defend the run. Last week, we saw James Cook have another worldly day, and the Bills team as a whole put up a record in Acrisure Stadium history. And I think the big factor there is Derek Harmon, who was their first round pick. And in the 3 games he hasn't played, I mean, teams have run wild on that Steelers defense. And so he already has been ruled out for this game. There was a little bit of running back controversy in Baltimore last week with the usage of Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell. And if I'm the Ravens, and we've seen this, like, it's not just a one particular game. Against the Steelers twice last season, Derrick Henry and this team ran wild. I think he can do that again. The Ravens, they had these AFC North teams, all 3 of them in the first round, taking defensive linemen. And I think that probably their run game had maybe it wasn't the whole picture, but had a little something to do with that. And so one of the reasons why Pittsburgh drafted Derek Harmon, I'm sure, was to stop the Ravens, among the fact that also he's just a very talented player in general. But you have to be able to establish a run game. You can work play action off of that. And of course, you can even use the extension of the ground game, which in my opinion is the short passing game. Obviously, you can do that effectively too. But you can't let the Steelers slop up this game and make it some like gross 13-10, because that's how they'll win this game. And that's what they've done to the Ravens, where these two rivals, you throw everything out when they play. You know, I don't care how good you are, how bad you are, who you have on your roster, who you don't have on your roster. These teams, when they face off, they're 0-0, even playing field, because that's just how close most of these games are. The Ravens dominating the Steelers twice last season was very rare in this rivalry. So the Ravens offense has a lot higher of a scoring potential than Pittsburgh's does. If they can get back to doing what they've known to do, obviously the last 3 weeks it hasn't been that way, but if they start doing that again against the Steelers defense that's also looking for answers, I think they'll be in pretty good shape.
Well, I think that's the question for me, Kevin, is can this team get back to that? Because we haven't seen it, and we haven't seen Lamar Jackson look the same without his ability to make plays in the running game. And we know he's an excellent pocket passer. Like, those questions are asked and answered, right? At this point, we've seen him be great from the pocket. He hasn't been great this season.
There are a lot of things going on with Lamar right now. And again, obviously a lot of different circumstances where he's obviously injured, and, you know, how injured, we don't know. I mean, we haven't really gotten a lot of specifics on what the actual injuries are, just like they're happening on certain parts of his leg. So we don't really have any insight as to how severe or not severe they actually are, but he's playing through them. He's healthy enough to play in the games. He's been hit a lot again this year, but, you know, the O-line play isn't great. And something I talk a lot about with guys like CJ Stroud in Houston is, like, it just feels like Lamar doesn't trust his O-line right now. And again, like, he still has, like, he has to make throws that he hasn't been making, especially in that game on Thursday against the Bengals. Like, I'm not going to give Lamar a pass because like, other quarterbacks are also dealing with poor offensive line play. Other quarterbacks also get hit. So Lamar is not going to be, like, free of that criticism. But of course, I think it adds context to everything that's going on, because Lamar's done so much, and from the pocket, he's been lethal for so many years. And we've seen that display over the course of some, like earlier in the season. Again, the offense was putting up 40, 30, 40, like they were putting up numbers. But ever since his injury, and I don't think the teams, are respecting his legs right now. There was one play where Rasheen Ali, who's their de facto 4th string running back, was filling in, and there was an option play, and Lamar took the ball outside, but everyone crashed in on the running. Like, that never happens. You always have someone that goes out because you respect. People don't respect Lamar's legs right now. And when teams are starting to say, oh, we can get away with this and that and this and that against Lamar, you start to put yourself in a dicey situation if you're the Ravens offense, because their offense is predicated on, well, you have to account for Lamar in so many different ways on every single play. So I'm worried about the offensive line because I think it has impacted Lamar, but obviously just from a very general perspective with everything going on, O-line play, injuries, poor performance, drop passes from receivers, which have been a problem in recent weeks. There's a lot going wrong with this offense.
Stay up to date all year on the Baltimore Ravens by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Ravens on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Coming up, a former Packer helped Bears GM Ryan Poles get into NFL ops. He took the help of a Packers position coach, then the Boston College head coach, to get current Bears GM Ryan Poles into the NFL front office world. Former Packers O-line coach and tight end coach Jeff Jagosinski joined us on Locked On Packers Squad Show to explain how he helped Poles get his start years ago.
I want to dive into your thoughts on the Bears, on the rivalry between Green Bay and Chicago. But from my understanding, you have a little bit of a connection to the Chicago team that maybe some of us don't have. You, before the show, were sharing the story that you have a connection with the Bears general manager, Ryan Poles. I would love for you to share the story you have with Ryan Poles.
Yeah, Ryan was an offensive lineman for me at Boston College, and we were playing and he was a good player. And his dad, I think, played in the NFL as well. But we were playing at Notre Dame, and he blew out his knee. And I remember I was going up the ramp after the Notre Dame game, which we won, which we always won, Notre Dame. But when I was walking up, and his dad goes, "Can you help Ryan out?" I said, "Yeah." I go, "What do you want me to do?" He goes, "Can you get him in the NFL?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do my best to get him in the NFL." And John Dorsey, who I was with in Green Bay, was at Kansas City, and I called Dorse up. I said, "Dorse, I got a kid. Can you help him out, get started in the business?" He started in the business, and he was at Kansas City for years and years and years. And all of a sudden, he gets the GM job at Chicago. And I called him, congratulated him. I said, "Hey, I was out of a job." I said, "Hey, Ryan, can you help me out?" He goes, "No, I really can't." I go, "Shoot, okay, for credit." But anyway, but he's a great kid. But to me, he's just a kid, right? And I know he's the GM and stuff at Chicago, and they're having success right now. So, credit to him. You got the right head coach in there.
I guess the Bears-Packers rivalry never really dies. And finally, the Clippers sent Chris Paul packing in the middle of the night. No formal exit, not even a thank you. LA confirmed the decision to part ways with Paul at almost 3 a.m. Wednesday morning, saying that they would work with him on the next step of his career. Not sure how many steps are left for CP3, who intended to retire with the Clippers at the end of the season. But LA did make one thing clear. It's not Paul's fault that the Clips are in free fall. But according to head coach Ty Lue, it just simply wasn't a good fit for what they're looking for, given all the extracurricular activities, shall we say, surrounding Kawhi Leonard this offseason. Booting arguably the greatest player in franchise history off the team before the end of the season is just another bad look for what has become an underperforming team. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, both the Cowboys and Lions need this Thursday night game to stay in the playoff hunt. So at least until tomorrow, stay locked on sports today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
For more episodes of Locked On Sports Today, go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.